question I want you to answer. How many cubers at the current moment do you think have a solid chance of breaking the world record average? Maybe you think it's just one, and Yihang will keep breaking his own record over and over. Maybe you think Max Park also has a good chance of breaking it. Maybe another cuber just gets really lucky in competition and pulls off a sub 4.5 average with, I don't know, some PLL skips or something. So the thing is, there are definitely more cubers than you think that are capable of breaking this record. And the one who I think has the highest chance of doing this, besides of course the world record holder himself, is Tymon Kolasiński. Tymon has consistently proven that he doesn't really need that much luck to pull off really scary times. A lot of his fastest solves use zbll and X crosses that don't necessarily require there to be something good on the scramble right from the get-go. This past weekend, Tymon went to Australia and competed in a competition called Cubing at the Cube. That is a great name, by the way. Very, very innovative there. Anyway, when he was there, he got a 5.10 average, but more importantly, a 4.49 best possible average going into his last solve. Yeah, so that's just 1/100th of a second off of the world record average, but there are definitely some things that we should note here before jumping to any conclusions, right? First of all, he got his 5th ever sub 4 in this average, which was a 392. And this does make the BPA overall just a lot harder to get and a lot less likely going into the last solve. Secondly, I don't even think that the sub 4 was the most impressive solve of the average, because he actually counted a low 4 that I found extremely interesting to look at, and it just had those moments where you just ask yourself, like, how is that even possible? So I'm going to break down the sub 4 and the 4.21, but I really want to go in depth on the 4.21 and show you just how technically impressive the solve is. Tymon does the solve on red cross, so we can scramble with red top and blue front to make things easier to understand. Our cross pieces are here, 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 and here. And Tymon is going to make an X cross with this green-red corner and this edge. So he starts by putting in both blue and red, like this, and then he just does a D move, then he just does an R prime and an F, and before finishing off the X cross, he just does a U2, to make sure that these two will get paired up whenever he finishes it. So he does that, and then he just has these two into the back, and then he has this case, which he does into the front left slot, like this, and then he has the same case but mirrored, and then he just has a lefty fatsune, and an A-perm, with a UAUF, and that solves the cube. Alright, so this is going to be Tymon's 421, and he does actually do the solve on red cross, so we can scramble with red top and blue front to make it show up on white. And the scramble will be, of course, on screen now and in the description. Alright, so we can see that our cross pieces are here, 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 and here, and Tymon is going to make an X cross with this red-blue edge and this corner. So how he's going to do that is he's going to take the basic route of creating the cross like this, but he's going to add in an extra move to actually make it into an X cross. So how he does that is he puts this edge over this one, so like what every basic CFOP solver would do, and then instead of just inserting this edge into the bottom, he puts in a U prime move, and what this does is this makes this little block right here, and when we do the F move, it also puts in this edge. And then he just finishes off the X cross with a D prime. And I do think that he also saw this pair, and he goes into this one for his second, and you can also see that your third pair is going to be right here, already paired into the slot. So you know that just from experience, whenever you're going to insert this pair into this slot, it's actually going to take this one out, and the look ahead will just be really easy. So he makes this one, and then he inserts it, and of course you have this 3 mover into the back. And then what he does here is he actually does a ZBLS case, which he recognizes very, very quickly. So you can see that it's just this F2L case, which you might just solve like this. But instead, what he does is he does an R move, and then that just puts all of the edges oriented on the top, and then he does a U2, and then a rotation. And now he inserts this pair in just like a weird way where you insert it, but you don't do the final R move to put it down just yet, because you also have to reinsert this block. So he does that, and then he does a wide L prime. And now we just have this pi ZBLL case, which can be recognized by these opposite corners diagonally, and also this huge line that kind of looks like an F perm on this side. And what he does is you start it off with kind of an RB perm, and then instead of inserting this pair with a U2, you kind of cancel into a sune here by doing that, and then just inserting the pair. and then he finishes it off with a U move. And this solve was done at just 10.2 TPS. I mean, of course, it's still 10 TPS, it's very, very fast turning, but this also requires an extreme level of efficiency. It was only 43 moves, so that's how he got a 4.21, because he just used very, very efficient solutions, and last slot and last layer weren't that many moves combined. So, okay, so I just wanted to look at Tymon's 421 and kind of see more of the, you know, the finger trick side of things, like what he's doing during the solve to actually make this solve flow so well. So just starting it off, we can actually see that a very, very insightful thing that he does here is he actually starts off with a pinch move. So you can see kind of at the top here, the top right of his cube, you can see that he starts off with a pinch move. And the reason he does that is so that he doesn't have to regrip for the next couple of moves, because this X cross it's not hard to finger trick, but if you don't want to regrip, you're gonna have to start with something like this. So he chooses to do a pinch move here. You can see right where my mouse is, and then he's just gonna do the R2, and before that he's gonna insert this corner right here. So you can see him do the U prime, and there's really no other crazy like regrips here, because he starts off with the pinch move, and you'll see the whole reason he didn't have to regrip for the X cross at all was because he starts off with that pinch move. So after that, it's pretty, I mean, he does the F move with his index finger, just normal stuff right there. And to finish off the X cross, he actually does a push D prime. So he does it with his left ring finger. And while he's doing that, a very important thing he does is he's already regripping this right hand. And the reason he does that is because he sees this white-blue pair, and he's gonna pair that up next. He's constantly doing things while he's doing other moves. Like, he's not just focusing all on that one move that he's doing. He also has to regrip while he's doing that. So it's kind of what you would do in a regular ALG, but he's doing it here during F12. So you can see he's already regripping, and he's going into this white and blue pair. So he pairs it up, and then he's going to rotate, and then he'll just insert it into the front left from his position. And he already has, you can't see it here on camera, but he already has this pair that's right around where my mouse is, and that one's already made in that slot. So he knows he has to insert this into the back. So look ahead's already really easy from here. And this is just, you know, regripless home grip stuff. It's really nothing too crazy. So he inserts that into the back right here. So you see that pair is done. And this is the point where he starts off the ZBLS. So you can see this is the edge for the F12 pair, and the corner is already in its slot up here at the front. So he's going to do a U2, and then he's going to pair it up and do the ZBLS. So what he does is he just does a U2, and then he does that R move, and now these two are paired up at the top. You can't really see them right now, but they are paired up. From here, it's just another U2, and then he does an X prime rotation. And the reason he does this is because obviously it's part of the ZBLS ALG to do this X prime rotation, but you'll see that now green is on the top, and he does another U2, and now you see the wide move here, and the wide move ends off the ALG. So it's a very, very smooth transition, and you can see there's only, if we go back here, there's only really a couple frames between him transitioning from this back pair, and now this is the time where he's recognizing this case, and he sees it like immediately, and he goes straight into it, which I think is so impressive that he can immediately notice that, and he just goes straight into the ZBLS. This is just the same ALG, right? And now he has this Pi ZBLL, he does a U2, and pretty much just very, very quick recognition here, and he's already regripping, you can see. So he kind of does a U move, but he realizes it's probably a different case. So then for this ALG, a regrip is kind of necessary for it. There's really no other good way to execute it. It's the first couple moves of the RB perm, I think, as I mentioned before, and he goes into that, and then you'll see that you can just tell that he already knows AUF. At least I think he knows AUF because of how quickly he goes into it and the way he finger tricks it. So you can see these are just the last couple moves of the ZB. And then he inserts that pair. You can just see the last move is just a push U move with his left index finger. It's just right there. And then that's the solve. So I think really what makes a lot of Tymon solves are his finger tricks. He uses a lot of things that not many people probably would, because he needs to avoid as many regrips as possible, and sometimes he has to do that through ways that a lot of people just wouldn't do. I think the main part of this solve, just looking at finger tricks, is how he starts it off. So yeah, he starts it off with the pinch move, and then he can just go into everything else, and that just makes everything on the X cross regripless. And then while he's doing other moves, he's, you know, regripping with the other hand, and I think that's really important for people to take note of if you want to do your solves regripless, and just makes everything faster, right? Pretty quick ZB recognition comparatively, and then it's very, very smooth. He knows the UF, right? And it's really what makes a solve finger trick wise is how he started it off. So I think that's really insightful to just look into there. But it's not just the techniques that Tymon uses, it's also how quickly he can recognize these things and then execute them on the cube. So obviously you could see like how well that zbls case flowed throughout the whole F2L. Like at the end, I couldn't even tell the first time watching it that he used any like fancy F12 tricks or anything like that. It just seemed like a regular F12 pair, and that's mainly just because he has so much experience recognizing those cases and then just executing them as fast as he can. So it kind of all blended together. And I thought that's probably what made this such a fast solve. So going back to the question at the beginning, do I think that there's a huge chance that anyone besides Yiheng breaks the current world record average? Well, Tymon, among others, have had these averages where they count really fast times, and that just moves the BPA down so much. Like, yes, his BPA was 4.49, but what are the odds that he gets another sub 4? I mean, it's always a chance, but at the same time, I think relating to this, we need to look at the times when Yiheng has gotten pure sub 5 averages. And this is something that hasn't been done by anyone else ever. And it's these averages that really just make you think, is there anyone on the level to break the 4.48 at this current moment? Well, I think that inevitably Yiheng will break his record again sometime this year, but there's always time for, you know, someone else to sneak in, maybe like, I would presume somebody in the top 5 or 6 for average to break this record. But I do think that the averages like the one Tymon just got do prove that Yiheng's record isn't as impossible to beat as we thought. There is still definitely a chance that somebody else could break it. So with these extremely high potential averages, I do think that there is a chance for Max or Tymon to break the record. At least those two, if not more people can do it. And I still do believe that a lot of people think that's the case. So yeah, if you enjoyed taking a look at this and you enjoyed my thorough analysis of that one solve, I think that's an interesting thing that I just decided to do in this video. And it's something that Philip used to do with the Monkey League solve. So I think it's a really good, it just helps to see like the finger tricks that he used and like how different steps flowed into each other. That's not something that you can just, you know, take a look at stats and see. So I think that like looking at the solves and breaking them down in real time is something that I want to keep doing. So if you thought that was cool and you're not subscribed yet for some reason, you can subscribe if you want to. And who knows, in the near future we might be breaking down some solves from some 6-year-olds who are in fact faster than you. If you didn't know, like they're faster than you. There's like a 99% chance, unless you're somehow like top 10 in the world or something watching this, which if you are, you made it out alive this video, good job. But if you aren't, you are still slower than a 6-year-old. So here's your daily reminder that that is the case. And yeah, you can do the 2 things up here. I never know which way they are, so just whatever's up here, you might want to click on it. So yeah, and yeah, besides that, that's about it. See ya.